Welcome everybody to another episode of the Geek Dad Report Real Reviews. Tonight we are going to be reviewing Zoolander 2.
And by we, Brian means myself as well, because yes, I am the floating voice because of video technical difficulties. So
Yeah,
just consider me like the crowd, and I will assist Brian in this review from afar. So
well, I am Brian and that floating voice is Ryan, and because we do this together as a team, we decided that we would not let any kind of difficulty stop us from giving you guys the review that you deserve. So, like I said, I saw Zoolander 2 on earlier this week, and as a fan of the original, I was really excited to see this movie. The first one that came 15 years ago, it was so much fun. It was energetic. It was comical. It had two really good-looking people in it, and it was a lot of fun. This one, unfortunately, was not those things. As much as I really looked forward to seeing Zoolander 2, it did not hold up to the original, unfortunately. It still had the same great characters that we know and love, but they just weren't nearly as funny, and the jokes fell really flat. So, before I get into why all of it didn't work, basically, Zoolander 2 takes place 15 years after the original. Hansel and Derek Zoolander have basically gone into retirement for various reasons, which I won't go into because this is a spoiler-free review. They get called out of retirement to do a fashion show that leads to a more intricate plot, that leads to even a more intricate plot, that leads to, by the end, you're just not even really sure what's going on or why it's happening. So, you know, I don't want to ruin anything if anybody does want to see this movie, but needless to say that the plot was overly complicated. It did not need to be so complicated. Part of the thing that made the original so much fun was that it was a very simple movie. It was a movie that kind of made fun of, well, it didn't kind of, it totally made fun of the male modeling industry and fashion in general. And this movie, unfortunately, doesn't really follow that same template. This movie actually kind of makes fun of Zoolander, the first movie, versus making fun of, you know, the industry. And the movie itself ends up just being a parody of Zoolander in general. So,
was there a whole bunch of jokes about ants and stuff?
no, there wasn't. And that was part of the problem with this movie. It did not have the one-liners. It did not have, when I left this movie, there's very few things that I can quote. The first movie had so much quotability when it was done. I mean, me and you joke all the time, and we say one-liners from the movie all day long. Hansel, he's so hot right now. What is this? You know, a school for ants. You know, it can just go on and on and on. This one, all the one-liners are the same exact one-liners.
Oh, so it's nothing different
They
then.
didn't even introduce a new look.
Really?
Zoolander has the same looks.
Oh.
So I'm not gonna trash this movie too long. There was things that I did enjoy about the movie. There was a lot of great cameos. This movie might actually have the most cameos I've ever seen in a movie. They're all really funny. I don't want to ruin the one that really kind of stole the show for me. He's part of Hansel's orgy. So yes, Hansel has a relationship with an entire orgy. He calls him his orgy, and it's about 12 people. One of them is a celebrity who plays themselves, and they're hilarious. So I don't want to ruin it. There is some funny parts to this movie. I don't want it to sound like it's not funny. It is a funny movie. Unfortunately, it's kind of a forgettable funny movie. It's not memorable, and there's more miss than there is hit on the jokes. But one of the great parts was the cameos. There's a lot of it, and the thing that did make this movie enjoyable was that Hansel and Zoolander, so Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, just they nail their character. It's like an I don't know. It's a familiar face that you know and love, and they just slip right back into these roles like they never left them, and they're great. Unfortunately, the story surrounding them just isn't that good, and the jokes just don't work for this movie. It's like I said, it ends up being a parody of itself, and it just isn't that funny. Like in the first Zoolander, only a few people were really dumb and everybody else was normal, and that's kind of what made it funny, is they played off of that stupidity. In this one, almost everyone is stupid. So it ends up being almost an airplane type movie where the most ridiculous things happen. I mean, at one point, without, like I said, without ruining anything, there are men who say they're pregnant. So it just doesn't make any sense. The movie really makes no sense. And
sounds
considering
like
going into Zoolander 2, I've seen Zoolander 1, which didn't make a lot of sense at times. This one just makes no sense at all.
it just sounds like when they kept making all the Shrek movies,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they didn't know what to do anymore, so they just had a whole bunch of fart and poop jokes, and
Yeah, they
it kind of seems like this. It might have been something that started off with a promise, but the execution probably does not sound like it was there.
I will say the cast does a great job in this movie. Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, uh, God, who else is in this? Penelope Cruz, Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig. Those are the main. There's a lot of supporting cast, and I don't want to say who else is in this because it ruins a lot of the great cameos in this movie. But they all do a great job, and I think their commitment to the roles in this movie does make it enjoyable. I will say this: the first hour of this movie is very hit and miss. It kind of moves along at a slow pace, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's about 5 or 6 jokes that will make you laugh. But I'll say this: the last half hour of that movie is so batshit crazy, out of control, that I was in tears multiple times. So even though the movie itself is not good, it is worth at least watching for that last half hour. You will laugh your ass off. If you don't like Zoolander, if you didn't like the first one and you don't like the characters, there's absolutely nothing in this movie that is going to make you want to watch it. But if you enjoyed the characters, it is worth at least a rental. If you're a diehard fan and you want a few laughs and you want to laugh hysterically for about 20 minutes, then check it out in the theater. But I cannot, in good faith, recommend you go see this on day one. My final rating for this movie, I give it a 6.9 out of 10 orgy fights.
And I will now be watching it on rentals. So
So there you go.